On March 19, 2026, international law enforcement announced what seemed like a historic victory in the war against cybercrime. In a coordinated operation across 3 countries, the U.S. Justice Department, along with German and Canadian authorities, seized the server infrastructure powering 4 of the largest IoT botnets on the planet: Isuru, Kimwolf, Mossad, and Jackskid. Together, these networks had hijacked over 3 million devices, routers, smart cameras, digital video recorders, and connected appliances. They were responsible for hundreds of thousands of distributed denial of service, or DDoS, attacks, hitting targets with floods of traffic reaching up to 30 terabits per second. Court records showed that Jackskid alone had issued over 90,000 attack commands. In cybersecurity, a law enforcement takedown of this scale is usually the end of the story. Domains are seized, command servers are offline, and the infected devices are left floating in the dark without instructions. Except this time, the story didn't end. Just 6 days after the seizure warrants were executed, threat intelligence researchers at XLab, Nokia Deepfield, and Comcast noticed something unexpected. The code behind Jackskid hadn't died, it had morphed. A new strain, now tracked as Dysphoria, emerged directly from the ashes of the March operation. And this time, the operators came back with a design specifically engineered to survive future law enforcement raids. Dysphoria dropped traditional domain names entirely. Instead, it rebuilt its command network inside decentralized Web3 blockchains and turned compromised consumer devices into shield relays. If you own a smart router, a Wi-Fi camera, or even an Android TV box in your home, this isn't just an abstract headline about global cybercrime. There is a real chance your local hardware is being used right now to route traffic for one of the most resilient botnets on the internet. To understand why Dysphoria represents such a major headache for cybersecurity defenders, we have to look at how traditional botnets operate versus how this new architecture works. Historically, a botnet operates on a simple hub-and-spoke model. Somewhere on the internet, a cybercriminal sets up a command and control server, often abbreviated as C2. When malware infects your smart router, that router reaches out to a specific domain name or IP address to ask, what target should I attack today? Because those domain names rely on the standard domain name system, or DNS. Registries like .com or .net, law enforcement agencies can issue court orders to registrar companies. Within hours, the domain is redirected, the C2 server goes dark, and the botnet loses its voice. Dysphoria completely bypasses this vulnerability by shifting its infrastructure to an Ethereum name service and a Solana name service. Instead of contacting a traditional web server to find its controller, infected devices query smart contracts on public blockchains using decentralized domain names. Because smart contracts on Ethereum and Solana are decentralized and immutable, there is no central domain registrar for a court to subpoena. There is no single hosting provider to issue a takedown notice to. The records sit on thousands of distributed blockchain nodes across the world. When a device infected with Dysphoria boots up, it reads the encrypted data stored inside these Web3 records. The text inside an ENS domain like burberry.eth actually encodes a list of IPv4 addresses. The malware decrypts those records locally, identifies available distribution nodes, and makes an HTTP call to get its latest server list. By using the blockchain as an unkillable bulletin board, Dysphoria guarantees that no matter how many times authorities shut down traditional hosting providers, the bots will always know where to find their next set of instructions. Connecting directly to a server exposed on the open internet, even via blockchain resolution, still leaves an IP address exposed. If security researchers find that IP address, they can block it at the internet service provider level. So the creators of Dysphoria added a second layer of defense, one that makes tracking down the actual threat actors almost impossible, resulting in a peer-to-peer victim relay mesh. By late June 2026, researchers analyzing Dysphoria samples discovered a fast succession of code updates. On June 25th, a new variant appeared that eliminated the DDoS attack code entirely. Instead of performing attacks, this specific build turns infected hardware into a relay-only node. Here is how it works in practice. When Dysphoria infects a home router or gateway, it uses UPnP, Universal Plug and Play, to talk to your local router and automatically open incoming network ports. Then, using Linux ePOL system, calls the compromised device acts as a proxy bridge. When a DDoS bot anywhere else in the world needs to communicate with the master controller, it doesn't connect to the hacker's real IP address. It connects to your home router. Your router then forwards that encrypted communication to the real C2 server, gets the response, and sends it back to the bot. The real controllers are kept completely separated from the devices doing the dirty work. Imagine a bank robber who never communicates directly with their getaway drivers, but instead leaves taped messages on the undersides of public park benches. Even if police discover every single park bench, they haven't caught the robber. They've just found public property. In this scenario, compromised home routers and smart cameras are those park benches. How big is the Dysphoria botnet today? That depends on which report you read, and the numbers reveal a complex picture. Telemetry published jointly by China's National Computer Emergency Response Team, CNCERT, and the Threat Intelligence Lab, XLab, places the overall device population at over 200,000 infected bots. During a single week in mid-July 2026, telemetry detected 4,401 active bots operating inside China alone, with single-day global peaks reaching up to 239,000 devices worldwide. On underground forums and storefronts, operators advertising access to Dysphoria claim the botnet can launch devastating DDoS strikes measuring up to 4 terabits per second for just a few $100s. However, independent security analysts advise caution when evaluating these figures. Neither CNCERT nor XLab released their specific deduplication or counting methodology, meaning these figures represent telemetry estimates rather than a verified census. Furthermore, no independent Western threat lab has independently confirmed a 4 terabit peak originating specifically from Dysphoria nodes. What is confirmed, however, is the capability of this code-based family. Before the March law enforcement actions, Cloudflare recorded a staggering 31.4 terabit per second attack launched by the related iSuru and Kimwolf botnet variants, one of the largest denial of service events ever recorded in internet history. Equally intriguing is the question of attribution. Japan's National Institute of Information and Communications Technology, NICT, confirmed the shift from JAXKID to ENS and Solana domains. However, code comparisons reveal that string encryption and infrastructure methods are being shared across multiple botnet strains. This points toward a bustling underground marketplace where malware developers trade and sell pre-built modules, making it nearly impossible to attribute Dysphoria to a single individual or state-backed group. With such a sophisticated Web3 infrastructure and relay system, you might expect Dysphoria to be using high-level zero-day exploits to break into networks. But the reality is far simpler and far more frustrating for defenders. While Dysphoria's payload list does include known remote code execution vulnerabilities, an unpatched command injection flaw in older Linksys routers, the vast majority of infections rely on brute force credential guessing over Telnet and SSH. Even in 2026, millions of smart devices, industrial gateways, security cameras, and consumer routers remain connected to the open internet with default factory credentials. Automated scanning modules built into Dysphoria continuously scan global IP ranges, testing hundreds of common username and password combinations every second. Once a weak login is found, the botnet drops a lightweight stager script, determines the target's device architecture, downloads the appropriate ELF binary, and executes the code silently in memory. Within seconds, another device becomes part of the relay mesh. The rapid evolution of Dysphoria shows that cyber criminals are adapting faster than traditional law enforcement takedowns can keep up. While seizing physical servers and web domains can disrupt botnets temporarily, the integration of Web3 named services and victim-hosted relay meshes means these networks can rebuild themselves in days. Defending against this new generation of malware requires active network hygiene. First, you must disable UPnP on your main network gateway unless it is strictly necessary. Turning off UPnP stops malware from automatically opening incoming ports on your router. Second, disable remote SSH and telnet management on all routers, cameras, and IoT devices exposed to the internet. If you require remote access, route it exclusively through a secure VPN. Third, change default passwords immediately on every connected piece of hardware you manage and replace legacy devices that no longer receive official security patches from their manufacturers. Decentralized tech has brought incredible innovations to the web, but as Dysphoria proves, it has also handed cyber criminals an unkillable backbone. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for deep dive technical reports on emerging cyber threats, security architecture, and digital risk. Drop your thoughts in the comments on how defenders should handle blockchain-based malware control networks. Thank you for listening, stay vigilant, and protect your endpoints.